Hi everyone and welcome to this video, Introduction to Qualitative Research with MaxQda. So first of all, what is MaxQda? It's a software for qualitative analysis and mixed methods research. It's really comprehensive and can be used for a lot of research projects. It's also very intuitive and very convenient to use. Honestly, it's one of my favorite analysis softwares and it's the one I use most of the time myself. So it can support many types and formats of data. So you can work with interviews, press and news, audio files, video files, images, with web pages, field notes, literature references, tweets, survey results, and many other data sources. You can also use it with a lot of different methods, such as content analysis, case studies, mixed methods, meaning methods combining qualitative and quantitative analysis. You can do literature reviews, grounded theory, and so on. Another advantage is that it's exactly the same software and interface for Mac and Windows. And to my knowledge, it's the only software of this kind to do this. So what I'm showing you here is on a Mac, but you should have the exact same thing if you're working with Windows. It's true that in the beginning, this type of software was designed as a computerized application of qualitative analysis on paper and with manual tools. So it was the kind of analysis where you would print text and code your text using marker pens, different colors, and post-it notes, and scissors to cut off the relevant extracts. And finally, you would be using boxes or envelopes with topics to classify and analyze the pieces of papers from your text. So it started as a computerized application of this. But since then, these software programs, they have changed a lot and they have become tools with really great potential for all the other steps and parts of your research. So obviously we won't be able to see everything in one short video, but just remember that they can help you to collect your data and your documents, to organize them, to analyze them, of course, and finally to present your research. So in the rest of the video, we are going to start by discovering MaxQda's interface. Then I will show you how to create a project and import your documents in this project. And we're going to see next how to explore and code these documents. And at the end, I will show you how to find extracts from your coded documents. So the first time you start MaxQda, you need to provide a username in here. You can use your full name or something else. It's as you like and it doesn't really make any difference. But the username is useful when you are working with a team because it helps to keep track of who did what, of who has completed which task, well, to keep track of the project. One important thing to start with is that MaxQda works with projects, with project files, in fact. So what is a project in MaxQda? It's one file where everything related to your research project is saved together in the same place on your computer. So it means that your documents, codes, memos, annotation, everything is saved together. You have three ways of launching a project. The first one is to create a new one in here. The second one is to open an already existing project here. And the projects recently used are going to be displayed here. And third, there are some example projects here with data provided by MaxQda. So you have two in English and some in other languages. So I'm going to open one of the English ones now, just to show you the interface. So this is MaxQda's interface, and as you can see, it's made up for Windows. And the four windows are like four different workspaces with different functions and built to complete different tasks. The first window is called the document system. It's in here. It's where all your documents and data are going to be stored and organized. So it means that interviews, images, audio and video recordings, everything you are going to import into MaxQda is going to be listed and organized in here. So if we imagine for a minute a handmade version of your project, like a not computer assisted version with printed documents and pens and marker pens and scissors and everything. So this window would be like a binder or a shelf where you can store and organize your data. The second window is the document browser here. So this is where you can open, read, code and annotate your documents. So you can think of this one as your desktop, like the space on your desktop, where you would open your documents to work on them. And the third window is the code system, which is here. It's a list of your code, a tree-like list, as you can see, where your codes are organized. So this would be like the box of marker pens and the chart where you would have assigned each marker color to a theme. And the fourth window now, which is the retrieve segment window here, and which is empty. Let me just add a few things like this. So the retrieve segment window is the window showing the documents extracts that have been assigned to specific codes. So this would be like a box, a cardboard box, in which you would store and organize the pieces of papers from your text after highlighting and cutting them off. So to use and change these four windows now, you see the four icons in the Home tab here. So each one stands for a window. So you can click on them to display or hide the corresponding window, like this. And if you close a window, just go back here and click on it again. As you can see, when they are displayed in gray, it means they are activated. And once hidden, they are in white. You have different layout choices here. So this is the one I'm using right now, and it's my favorite because I think it's the most intuitive to use. But you can also move the documents and codes to the right, like this, and you can have columns like this. So you can just try and see which one you like the best. You can also change the size of the windows by dragging the gray bar here. And you can fully expand a window if you want to work with only one window, like this. It's this icon here. And you can even undock a window, which is very useful if you have two screens. It's this one. So drag it on the second screen and back. You can also do searches in each window independently. You see the magnifying glass tool here. And well, as you can see, each window has its own toolbar and contextual menus, which we're going to discuss later. For now, maybe just another interesting feature in the Home tab here, it's the logbook. And the logbook is a place where you can take notes about the project. You can see here the calendar. If you click on it, there is a timestamp added. And you can add a new one. And as you can see, it's sorted with the most recent at the top, always. I also want to mention that the help system in MaxQda is very good. You just have to drag your mouse over something and it's likely that the description will just pop up like that. And also the eye icon here, which is everywhere in the software, it's a link to the corresponding feature in the English user manual online. So if I click on this one, it's going to open the page of the logbook in the user manual. And in the top right corner here, you have the undo and redo options and the settings of the software. We are going to have a better look at the tabs in the next lessons, but for now, at least you can see that there is a number of tabs with tools for importing, coding, analyzing, and producing visualizations, reports, and so on. Just note that the last two tabs here, the MaxQda and stats, they are only in MaxQda Plus for dictionary tools and only in MaxQda Analytics Pro for the advanced statistical tools. So now you know how the MaxQda interface works. So maybe one last tip, don't get overwhelmed, try not to get overwhelmed with what looks like a huge amount of features and icons. It's because they are overlapping a lot and the features can be found in a lot of different places, like in the tabs at the top, in the toolbars, the context menus, and so on. So the point is just to have them close whenever you need them. Now let's see how to create a project and import some documents. So to create a project, you can either go back to the first screen or create it from here in the Home tab. See New Project, Open Project, and you can find the example projects in here. So New Project. And this is it. This is an empty project. There are three ways to import documents into your new project. The first one is from the Import tab in here. We are going to talk about this later. The second one is from the document system window here with this icon. See, Import Documents. So here are your documents. And the third one is also from the document system window, but this time from the context menu of a folder. So you can create a new folder. And then with a right click, import documents. And the documents are imported straight into your folder. Just be careful to select the right folder even when using the other options, because MaxQda is going to import the document in the selected folder, which is the one highlighted in blue, like this. And now if your documents are not in the right folder, or if the folder was created after importing them, you can move the documents either one by one or by group using the Shift key of your keyboard. So now if I want to take these documents and put them in a folder, see here, I just created my folder in the wrong folder, but let's see. So now I can take my new folder and drag it into documents. So it's going to be a top level folder like the other one. And I pick all of my documents and drag them into Interview New York. And you can import almost any kind of documents into MaxQda. Here we've just seen text documents, but you have tool to import many different types of documents. See here you can have PDF files, text and tables. You can have images, audio and video files. It can also be transcription files, both from interview or focus group, coming from different softwares like this. What else? You can have survey data from SurveyMonkey and Excel. You can import data from Twitter, from YouTube. You can even import web pages using the web collector tool here. All kind of structured text, both tables and text documents. And you can even imports bibliographic data straight from your bibliographic management software here. And finally, you can just create an empty document and paste everything you want or type everything you want into it. So now that we've imported and organized some documents, we're going to see how to open them, read them, and add annotations, and of course, then how to code these documents. So for this, I'm going to close the empty project and reopen the first one. It's going to be easier to show you and also easier for you to understand. So opening an existing project. So to open a document, just double click on it and it's going to be opened here in the document browser. And the corresponding icon in the document system here is going to have a little pencil just to spot easily which one is opened. So let's see the document browser window now. I'm going to close this here. So this is the code bar, and it's where your codes are going to be displayed, as you can see, and also your memos and annotations. About the memos, you can take notes when you start reading your documents using the memos, which are like post-it notes or sticky notes. So this is a memo window, and you can see that there are a lot of options. You can choose an icon for your memo. You can even assign a label to the different types of icon you have. You can format the text and so on. You really have a lot of options. And you can create memos anywhere you like in your documents, just basically by highlighting some text and with a right click, insert memo selection. And you can also create memos just by double clicking somewhere in the memo bar in here, like this. See, my new memo is here. And you can also create memos for your documents. So it's going to be like one big memo that you can stick on the front page of your document. And they are called document memos. So for example, here we have one document memo for the Alex document. And it works the same way with a code. You can have memos for your codes like this. So now to open these memos, so in the document browser, see they are here on the left, and you can also see them in the right column here that you have to activate to hide or display here. And you have to navigate through your memos using the arrows like this, because it's only showing one memo at a time. And you can also find the memos from one of your documents using the context menu of a document. See with a right click, overviews of memos in here. And finally, all your memos are in the memo tab up here. So let's go back to the browser and exploring the documents. An important thing about documents in text format in MaxQda is that there is an editing mode here. This is the editing mode. It's to avoid accidental modifications to your documents while handling or coding them. Like you may highlight a part of a document and hit the delete key by mistake. So the documents are in a read-only mode unless the edit mode here is activated. So if you spot a typo or a spelling mistake in your document, just activate this. You can change your text and don't forget to deactivate the edit mode. For text documents like this one, you can select paragraphs with a click on a paragraph number, like this. And this is useful if you want to code or annotate a whole paragraph in one click. And if you like, you can also activate the line numbers here instead of the paragraphs. So with a right click, convert to line number text. And if you change your mind, you can go back to paragraph. In this window, there is also a search tool with the magnifying glass here. and to do searches in only in the open document here. And one last thing before I show you how to code, it's the highlighting tool here. As you can see, those marker pens icons. This is an interesting tool for when you're starting to work and having a first look at your documents. And it's pretty much like a marker pen. For example, you know that, I don't know, let's say this extract is going to be important, but you don't have a coding grid yet, or you want to come back to it later for some reason, you can just highlight it and come back to it whenever you want. So here in green, see I have a code green somewhere in my code system, so I'm going to be able to find it again when I need it. Well, now we're going to see how to code these documents. So codes are one of the key functions, or even the key function of MaxQda. So what is a code? It's a keyword or a label used to identify and categorize the content of your documents. So coding is when you select an extract from a document in the browser here and assign to it a code from your code list here. And all the codes you're going to create are going to be in this window called Code System. And like documents, you can organize and sort your codes just by dragging them around, really. So if you already know the topics for your analysis, the categories which are going to be in your code list, you can just start creating your codes from the window. To create a code, it's this icon here. So this is the new code window. You can choose a name for your code, you can choose a color, and even add a description, which is going to be saved as a memo for your code. So let's try that. See, like the documents, when you create a new code, it's going to be a subcode of the one selected in blue. So here, now if I want to move my code test to the main level, here, I just drag it on top. And you can also create codes straight from your code list. Like if you click on the green cross here, it's going to add a code just under this one, like this. Here. But in any case, just remember that nothing is permanent here. You can rename your codes, you can reorganize them, delete them, group them whenever you want when you're working on your project. So all the documents that you have imported and organized are here. And the document you want to code is open here in the document browser. And of course your code list is here. Maybe you just have a few codes if you just started, but that's okay. And if you want to code in vivo, meaning that you want to create your codes when you read your documents and not to create codes before reading, I'm going to show you how to do this later in the video. So coding in MaxQda is very easy. You just select an extract from your document by highlighting it like this. And you drag it over the code you want to assign to it. And that's it. So you can see that the code has been assigned to the text segment here. It's displayed here in the code bar. And you have the code line here. And if you click on it, it's going to highlight the corresponding extract. And in the code list, in the code system, the segment has been added to the number here. So you have 9 extracts coded with the code carrier. So this is just one of the many ways of coding in MaxQda. There are actually a lot of different tools and features for coding. And once you get used to using the software, you can decide which are the more convenient for you and your project. So I'm going to show you the other coding options now. So if you look at the document browser toolbar more closely, you can see that there is a drop-down list here. And these are the last codes that have been used. So if you select one of the codes and select some text, of course, and click on this icon, it's going to code the highlighted text with this code you've selected. With this icon here, you can create a new code. So it's going to open the new code window. And with this one, you can create what's called in MaxQda an in vivo code, meaning that the name of the code is going to match the text extract like this. See, if I click on it, I have a new code with the exact same text. The next one here is called the Open Coding tool. And the Open Coding tool automatically opens a new code window every time you select an extract on your document. So it's a tool you have to activate. So you click on it and it's gray when it's activated. And see now, if you highlight some text, when you release your mouse, it's opening the new code window. And if I select another extract, it's going to do the same thing until I deactivate the option. So it's a great tool when you start coding and you have a lot of new codes to create at the beginning of your work. What's next though? You already know the highlighter tools. You have some emoticons. You can code with emoticons, and you have the same range of emojis that you have on every cell phone, every mobile phone. And finally, you can undo. Finally, you can undo the coding here. You have an undo code function, and you can pick which coding you want to undo. You can also use the main undo function up here, but be careful because this one, the main one, can undo not only the codings, but also everything you've done. So with the undo code function, you're sure that you're only going to undo your coding actions, and it's a safer option to avoid accidentally undoing other important things you might have done. You have a few other options for coding. Some of the tools in the toolbar here can also be found in the context menu of a text extract. So if you highlight some text and with a right click, you have a few options for coding here. And you can also use the keyboard shortcuts for these tools. See, if you drag your mouse and leave it on one of them, you can see the shortcut. And you can also create keyboard shortcuts for specific codes. It's in here, in the code tab, keyboard shortcuts for codes. And I think you can have 9 shortcuts. And you can also define a shortcut in the context menu of code. Here in properties, you can pick a shortcut. And one last tool, you can use the favorite code bar here, code favorites. And in here, you can drag all the codes you want. And you can just use the window to code like you would use your code system. So just highlight some text and drag it on a code. So it's quite useful because depending on what you are coding and when, you are not going to use the same codes. And if you have a lot of codes in your code system, that can be kind of a hassle to go back and forth in the list. So in here, you can change the codes you're using the most at the different stages of your research. Once you have coded a segment, if you want to expand the coded area, you just have to click on it, and you see you have 2 little grabbers at the beginning and at the end, so you can just move them around. Adjust the coded segment to the selection, yes, and here you go. And as we've seen with the memos, you can also take notes about the coded extract. So you can just add a memo, insert memo for selection, and you can also use comments. And a comment is a bit like a memo, but it's just for coded segments. And you can create one by double-clicking in the little dot here. See, comment. You can also assign a weight to a coded segment. So with a right click on the code name, on the code bar, see here, modify weight. This can be useful if you want to later spot easily the segments that are most typical or really representative for one of your code categories. For example, you might want to save them to use as examples in your reports, or you can also use weight if a segment is of particular interest to you and you just want to find it again later easily. And one last thing, you can choose to display the coded text segments highlighted in your documents. It's in here, in the code bar, with a right click on the gray area. See display coded segment in code color. But be careful though, because if you have a lot of segments that are coded with more than one code, it might be not so readable. To find the document extracts that you have previously coded. It works with the MaxQda activation system. So finding coded segments in MaxQda is called retrieving segments, and the results are called retrieved segments. And it works by activating documents and codes. So it means that the software is going to look for the activated codes here in the code system, in the activated documents here in the document system, and to list the results of the search here in the retrieve segments window. So for example, if I want to find out what was said in some of my interviews, let's say those in New York, about the topic career and work, I can activate the interviews by clicking here and activate the code here. And all text segments that have been found in these documents coded with this code are going to be displayed here in the retrieve segments window. So let's see all of this in more details. Let's start with the documents. So to activate documents, you've got a few choices. You can click on the icon or on the gray circle here in front of the document, or you can click on a folder if you want to activate all documents from the folder. And I think you can even click on the number here to activate and deactivate them. You can also use the context menu of documents and folder. See, deactivate and activate. And you can also use a keyboard shortcut by holding down the Control key on Windows and the Command key on Mac and clicking on all the documents that you want to activate. So it works a bit like in a computer folder. And to activate all the documents from your project, you can just do one of these manipulations on documents here. So on the main folder of the project, like this. To deactivate documents, it works the same way. You can click again on the gray circle on the icon or on the number of coded segments, and it's going to deactivate the documents. You can also use the context menu or click again on the document with the keyboard shortcut. And if you want to deactivate all your documents and to reset the search, just click here on this icon. It's going to reset all the activations in the document system. So for the codes, it works the exact same way, except for one little thing. We know that there are no folders per se in the code list in MaxQda, but that they are all codes and subcodes. So it means that you have the choice to activate or not the parent code, the one above a code on the list, while you are activating the subcodes. So if you click on a code, it's going to activate both the code and the subcodes, like this. So now if you want to activate only a code and not the subcodes, you have to go in the context menu and see activate or activate including subcodes, like this. And if you want to activate only the subcodes and not the main code, the parent code, once you have activated everything, you click on the main code and click deactivate. So except for that, it's the same as document, and you can activate codes exactly like you would do for documents. And to deactivate all documents and all codes in one click, you can go here in the Home tab, Reset Activation. Just one last thing, there is a bar with informations here at the bottom. It shows how many documents are activated, how many codes are activated, and how many segments are found with this combination of documents and codes. So you can see quickly what's going on. So that's it. You know how MaxQDA's activation tools work, and you can now easily retrieve coded segments from your documents. As you can guess, what we just saw in this video is just an introduction to the basic features of MaxQda. There are a lot of tools for almost every type of data, for many research projects, and for many different methods. And they are really interesting and rich analysis tools and visual tools as well. You can produce all sorts of reports in here. You have visual tools in here. And there are also really interesting features for the audio and video files. For example, you can work straight from audio and video documents to do your transcriptions in MaxQda and to code directly audio and video files without having to transcribe them first, all these kind of things. And there is also an interesting space here to work on your questions and theory building. But sure, we can't cover everything in one short video. So if you want to learn more and to go further with MaxQda, I also offer more comprehensive training workshops, consulting for projects and for teams. And there is also a complete MaxQda course that is entirely online. It's a 13-hour course, which is online 24/7, so you can do it at your own pace. And it covers all the basics we just saw with a lot more details, of course, a few tips and exercise. And it really covers all the areas, all the features, and all the tools of the standard version of MaxQda. So the goal is that by the end of the course, you would be able to import all kinds of data into MaxQda, to use all the analysis tools available, and to adapt them to your own project, and to produce visualizations and reports to present your research results. So if you would like to know more, you can check out my website here. And thanks for watching, and I wish you all the best with your projects.